Regular council meeting of February 13th, 2012. Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Allen.
Here.
Dixon.
Here.
Gibbons.
Here.
Hannon.
Present.
Harrison.
Present.
McLean.
Here.
Maury.
Here.
O'Brien.
Present.
Tate.
Here.
All present.
All members present. At this time, I'd like to introduce Brownie Troop number 55043 of the Bethel Park Girl Scouts. They will be performing the flag ceremony at tonight's council meeting, and the troop leader is Sarah Renko. Should we stand?
Yeah. I pledge allegiance
Okay, at this time, I'd like to turn to chair announcements. We don't have any this evening. I'd like to turn to the reports of the officials and the librarian's report.
Mr. Murray,
Mr. Harrison.
is this the appropriate time to inform the public that we'll meet in here on the 27th?
We can do that. Council decided this evening that the committee meeting of February 27th will be held in council chambers and will be televised, and the meeting will start at 7:30 p.m.
And it will be broadcast.
It will be broadcast.
Thank you.
Okay, time, we'll turn to the librarian's report.
Good evening. My name is Christine. I'm the director of Your Public Library, where we provide services to inform, inspire, and enrich the community. Big news. Is it on now? Big news in the library. If you haven't seen the almanac, we've had a fish theft in the library. We have an aquarium. And systematically and methodically, the fish were being stolen one by one. Now we have none. But the story brought us $85 in monetary donations from patrons to replenish the fish tank. So we'll talk about that. Some upcoming programs, we have, it's tax time, so we have free AARP tax aid on Tuesdays for 8 to 10. It is from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. First come, first served. The first come are crazy, so we can wait. We have free computer classes, upcoming classes the next few weeks for Microsoft Word, basic internet, using email, and very popular one is laptop class. Registration is required. I know that there's a waiting list, especially for the level 7 class. On Saturday, February 18th at 10 o'clock, there's Donut with DAS program in the Youth Services Department. This is for kids, kindergarten through 5th grade with DAS, and after you register, so you have enough donuts and juice. And on Sunday, February 19th from 2 to 4 p.m., there's Bark for Books. This is a great program. There's trade therapy dogs that come in. Particularly good for students that are reluctant readers and don't like to read when they don't. They're afraid to be criticized by the dog. Always happens to be near him or her. So we have therapy dogs coming in. Each child gets 15-minute time slots a week. We do have to register. Fundraising. We had a mother-daughter tea yesterday at the community center. We had 86 participants, and we raised almost $1,000 to support the youth services programs. On Monday, February 27th, from 5 to 8 o'clock, we have Chick-fil-A Spirit Night. If you mention the library that evening, we get 20% of the total sales, and that helps support our program. And February is Love Your Library Month. The library is selling paper hearts for $1. You can put for the library behind the circulation desk. And one more announcement we have, just want to tell you to save the date for the library annual gala. The gala this year will be on Friday, May 25th, from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. It's a Monte Carlo night theme. It will be held at the community center. We've kind of outgrown the library. Can't fit enough people in there. It's $25 per ticket. That includes your appetizers, drinks, and then some blank gambling money. So, for more information on any of these programs and services, or the others offered by the library, you can visit the library's updated, really awesome website at bethleparklibrary.org. Any questions?
Is there any questions from council?
You got to replace the fish?
Yes, we're doing it this week. The tank's set up and ready, and like I said, we've got $85 in donations.
Put piranhas in it, then they'll keep their hands on it.
That's what someone else said, put piranhas in it.
Mr. McLean?
Yes, if I could come forward.
The fish net.
There's not fish in there.
There are not fish. Ordinarily, you should be concerned about a politician handing you an envelope with money. I decided to do this at a public meeting in front of TV cameras. Oh, I'm sorry.
The microphone is not working. Sorry.
He looked guilty.
Sorry about that. We have actually taken up a small collection for the Replenish the Fish Foundation, or fund,
thank you.
and we wanted to present that to you. But a couple things I wanted to note. One, this is not part of the budget, so we haven't taken any funds out of the budget for these purposes. And we know that you said you prefer to use them for the surveillance cameras instead of the fish themselves. We were actually divided on council as to what to do with that. Mr. O'Brien in particular said he wanted it for the fish. In fact, his quote was, "I like the little fishies." So he would like them to be devoted to that. But that's a small gift from us, and we actually would like to catch the culprit, is what we'd like to do, and see if we could do that, because as it stands now, no fish in any aquarium in Bethel Park is safe, and we have to nip this in the bud. So, well, thank you very much, and good luck with your efforts.
Okay, that's going to be a tough act.
Question? May I ask
Mr.
Mr.
Harrison.
McLean a question? Did you say this money in that envelope came from council? Is that what you said?
Mr. Harrison, it came from me, okay? It came from me. It's a small gesture in order to
Okay,
make
no,
sure
that's
that-
all right. You quoted Mr. O'Brien, and I just was curious because it came from council. Certainly, I didn't know anything about it.
That's understood,
And that's
Mr.
just
Harrison.
another
This is-
item that's
this is-
bothersome.
This is just a good-natured way of drawing attention to this issue, that's all.
Thank you very much. That's a tough act to follow. If we caught the fish nappers, Chief.
Yeah, how you forgot them, huh?
You have to report a crime before we can investigate it, so that got us off the hook, but we would be more than happy to investigate for you.
Quite the politician.
I actually just have a couple items this evening. Number one, the Bethel Park Crime Watch is going very well, and we are still recruiting members. Like I said, we're trying to get to that 1,000 member mark, and we get closer every day. The next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 23rd, 6:30 p.m. at the community center, and we would love to have anybody that's interested come on out. Even if you want to check out the meeting before you sign up, that would be fine. Everyone is invited. The police department has participated, I believe it's been 3 times now, with the Drug Enforcement Administration on the National Drug Take-Back Program. And we've been asked to once again sponsor the event. We are going to do so on Saturday, April 28th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I'll repeat the time, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. because I think the last time the time was actually advertised incorrectly. If you have expired or unwanted medications, you can bring them to the drop-off, and the Drug Enforcement Administration will dispose of those drugs in a safe manner. However, this is for drugs in pill form only. They do not accept liquids, and we suggest that you place your pills in a baggie and not bring in the actual container from your prescription, because nobody wants your name or any other information. We just want the pills to safely dispose of them. Once again, Saturday, April 28th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the community center. I wanted to thank Dave Cable from the Cable Television Network. He has been assisting Officer Tom Rigatti in updating the police website. And the one thing I really wanted to mention to the public is you can actually go to the website and file police reports. The reports that we're taking, if you have any traffic concerns, you can report your traffic issues. Those will go directly to our traffic division. You can report streetlight outages and also report municipal ordinance violations. And you can do so on the website. Those get forwarded to the proper divisions in the department, and we check up on all those complaints, and we'll take enforcement action if required. Please go to www.bethelpark.net. Once you get there, there's a police tab. Click on the police tab, and then choose your option. And finally, the Bethel Park Police Pals will once again be playing the Pittsburgh Steelers in a benefit basketball game. That is scheduled for Wednesday, March 16th at 8 p.m. And the event will take place at the new Bethel Park High School gymnasium. I will tell you, it's quite a facility. I was asked if I would be interested in playing. I said, that looks like an awfully big gym, and I was reminded that all basketball courts are the same size. It only looks bigger. So. I think the pregame that starts at 6 o'clock might actually be between the police department and the fire department. I think the fire department's looking for a little revenge from the softball game on Community Day, and we'll see how that goes. But please come out at 6 o'clock, watch the pregame, and also to let you know that the concession stand opens at 5:30. All proceeds from the game go to the Sergeant Charles Bonzak Bethel Park Police Association College Scholarships, and those are awarded every year to LEAP students. And those are the kids that, it's like a miniature police academy at the high school. And these are kids that want to go on to college and study careers in law enforcement. Tickets are $7 in advance or $9 at the door, and they can be purchased at EV Hardware, Eaton Park on Route 88, and the police records room. So we ask you to come out, enjoy the game. It's the first non-scholastic type event that will be held at the new high school. So come on out and have a good time, and donate your money, more importantly. That's my report.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? I would like to mention Mr. Hannon and I attended the Citizens Police Academy. I believe it was 2 weeks ago, and just wanted to thank the Port Authority for sending their officers. And they actually did a demonstration with their dogs, which was a great group of people, very interesting. And if you haven't signed up, unfortunately this year's too late, but hopefully we'll have some money in the budget for next year. It's a great program. I'd like to thank the Chief and Officer Rigatti and all the members of the police department that really support this, to educate the community on some of the things that we do as a police department and what some of the other law enforcement agencies do. Thank you. This time we'll turn to the Fire Chief's report. I think he has the microphone.
Oh, we got it back working now?
We'll let you know in a minute.
All right, my name's Tom Kelton. I'm the 3rd Lieutenant with the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company. As Chief Mackey said, we will be playing a basketball game, so if anybody out there is about 6'8" and has been thinking about joining, we'll gladly take you now. On a serious note, though, we are taking new applications every day. We actually had 2 new applications tonight being turned in at our meeting. So anybody out there, we're always looking for applications. Last month, fires breakdown, we had 30 total calls. Fires were 7. Hazardous conditions with no fire was 4. Good intent calls, we had 3. And the big one, false alarms, 16. With that, in the last couple of days, we've been hearing a lot about chimney fires around the area. Mount Lebanon just had 2 yesterday. Just a big reminder, everybody check your chimneys out, your fireplaces. Even if you don't burn wood in them, you have a gas fireplace, still have it checked. It still can cause radiant heat and can still cause a fire in your house. So make sure you get that checked annually. Some council, I believe, actually came down and saw our new truck is in. We just picked that up Thursday night. It came down to our new station. So if you see it driving around, it's got a big ladder on top. We won't be bringing it out to calls just yet. It's going to take a little while before we get all the equipment mounted on it and guys trained enough to drive it and operate it properly. And donations. Always taking donations. Go to the website at www.bethelparkbfc.com. And you can donate right online, and our mailers should be coming out in another month and a half. So, do you have questions?
Any questions from council? Mr. Harrison?
At the meeting at the fire hall here about 3 months ago, I made a commitment that each month I would remind the public that the fire company is a volunteer group. They rely upon the donations from the public, and so I'd strongly encourage people to make their contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll turn to the mayor's report, and Mayor Morton.
Good evening, everyone. My report will be quite brief tonight. I only have a couple of things, and our birthday list is extremely short this month. There's only 5 people on our list now for the month of February, and so we'll go quickly on these. Marcia Zattilli, happy birthday to her, is 91. Jean Brum and Valerie Coet, both of them, happy birthday, is 94. And Mary Moritz, God bless her, is 99. And happy birthday to her. Leonard Tischler, many of you may know, is 93 years old as of this month also. And I ran into Leonard the other day, and it's a good thing I did because he was looking for me. He wanted to give me something, so he gave me a packet of a couple things, and one of them I just want to share briefly with you. At one time, there was such a thing as the Bethel Township News that was printed. This is the 1939 July issue. It's a weekly. As obviously, it was run on some kind of a printer that we don't even know what the name was anymore. And it's interesting. I'll just give you a couple things here that's very interesting. Steak was only 35 cents a pound. Now it's $35 a pound. 35 cents a pound at the Clover Farm store. Veal cutlets, the same price. But the one I liked the best was hamburger. You could get 3 pounds of hamburger for 59 cents. So you can't even get the ketchup for it today. Anyway, so much for that. I want to thank Leonard for providing this. I'll put it in with the rest of the stuff that we're saving. And I guess that's all I have. I just ran out of talk. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I do have one comment for the mayor. I was, at a request of a resident in the community, asked me to mention the article that was in the paper last week about the mayor and the First Lady of Bethel Park, Joan Morton. And I will read 2 excerpts from that article, not to embarrass the mayor or anything.
No, of course not.
And this is a quote: self-proclaimed opposites, Cliff and Joan Morton of Bethel Park, met in 1952 during their freshman year at Allegheny College in Meadville. Quote, I was a city girl and he was a country boy, Joan Morton said. We had nothing in common.
That's right. She hated me. She told her sorority sisters that I would be the last person in the world she'd ever marry. She told them. It's a fact. That's a fact. And I'm the last man standing.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Very nice
Thank you.
article. Okay, at this time, I would like to turn to the approval of the minutes, and Mr. Allen.
I move that we approve the regular council meeting minutes of January 9th, 2012.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we approve the regular council meeting minutes of January 9th, 2012. Any discussion on this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Dixon,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Lowry,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Allen.
The second motion is a public hearing of January 23rd, 2012. I move that we approve the minutes of the Bethel Park Ward Reapportionment Plan, public hearing of January 23rd, 2012.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we approve the minutes of the Bethel Park Reapportionment Plan public hearing of January 23rd, 2012. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Givens,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon.
Yes. Motion passes 9-0. At this time, I'd like to turn to the approval of the bills and payrolls, and Mr. Allen.
I move that we approve the bills and payrolls for the municipality per bill list number 021312 in the amount of $1,761,017.44.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the bills and payrolls for the municipality per bill list number 021312 in the amount of $1,761,017.44. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Givens.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. At this time, I'd like to turn to the resident comments section for non-agenda items. That's not me. Okay, hearing none, could we turn to the agenda? In general policy and finance, Mr. Hannon, we have no residents signed up to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. The first one of many is a reappointment to the Building and Fire Code Appeals Board. Move that we reappoint Raymond Washner to the Building and Fire Code Appeals Board for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we reappoint Raymond Washner to the Building and Fire Code Appeals Board for a term to expire December 31st, 2014. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Givens.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Next is a reappointment to the Cable Board. I move that we reappoint George Zifchak to the Cable Board for a term to expire on December 31st, 2015.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we reappoint George Zifchak to the Cable Board for a term to expire December 31st, 2015. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Hannon.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Next item is a reappointment to the Civil Service Commission. I move that we reappoint Carl Denson to the Civil Service Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to reappoint Carl Denson to the Civil Service Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2014. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
McLean,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Would like to acknowledge Mr. Denson. He's in the audience tonight. Would like to thank you for willing to donate your time for all these years. Okay, Mr. Hannon.
Next item is a reappointment to the Library Board. I move that we reappoint Kenneth I. Moore to the Library Board for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we reappoint Kenneth L. Moore to the Library Board for a term to expire December 31st, 2014. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Next is a reappointment to the Municipal Authority. Move that we reappoint William W. Rule to the Municipal Authority for a term to expire on December 31st, 2016.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we reappoint William W. Rule to the Municipal Authority for a term to expire on December 31st, 2016. Any discussion of this item? We better vote on this before he shows up in his slippers. Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pate, yes. Allen,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Maury.
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Next is a reappointment to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services. I move that we reappoint Josh Armstrong to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we reappoint Josh Armstrong to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Pape,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Next is a reappointment to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services. I move that we reappoint Bill Bonacorsi to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we reappoint Bill Bonacorsi to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pape.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Next is a reappointment to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services. Move that we reappoint Jeffrey Greer to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we reappoint Jeff Greer to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Dixon,
Yes.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
say yes. Harrison,
Oh, yes. With the noise, I didn't hear your
I'm
call
sorry.
name. I apologize.
McLean,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pape,
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
There's another reappointment to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services. I move that we reappoint Mary Ann McCardle to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we reappoint Mary Ann McCardle to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Gibbons,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pape,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon.
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Next item is a reappointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Move that we reappoint Tony Fisher to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2015.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to reappoint Tony Fisher to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2015. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pape,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Gibbons.
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Now, the next reappointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I move that we reappoint Harry A. Fuhrer to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2015.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we reappoint Harry A. Fuhrer to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2015. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pape,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Hannon.
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Next item is a reappointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I move that we reappoint Mark Beeman to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2015.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we reappoint Mark Veman to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2015. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
McLean,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pape,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Next item is a reappointment to the Zoning Hearing Board. I move that we appoint T.J. Willits to fulfill a vacancy on the Zoning Hearing Board for a term to expire on December 31st, 2016.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we appoint T.J. Willits to fulfill a vacancy on the Zoning Hearing Board for a term to expire on December 31st, 2016. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Maury,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pape,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Next item is an appointment to the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services. I move that we appoint Arlene Bakey to fulfill a vacancy on the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services for a term to expire on December 31st, 2013.
Second?
There's a motion and a second that we appoint Arlene Bakey to fulfill a vacancy on the Board of Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services for a term to expire on December 31st, 2013. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagnon, would you please call the roll?
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pape.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Dixon.
Yes.
Givens.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
McLean.
Yes.
Mauer.
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
We have no further items under General Policy and Finance, Mr. Murray. I'd like to say a couple words. I want to appreciate all the people that we do appoint to our various boards and commissions. They really help out this community, and they really are. They do a good service to our town and make it work. I mean, we don't sit here and claim that we do it all. They really make this community what it is, and they really help out and make it work. So I want to thankful for me as a councilman, their efforts and what they put into this town. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hannon. Are there any additional items?
Mr. Murray,
Mr. Harrison.
I hope the public notice I have my red flag of warning here in front of my position at the dais, and that is there to call attention to the general public that has any interest that there's many people, a lot of my supporters, contrary to what you guys may think, I do have supporters out there, about the operation of our local government. And in particular, the comment I'm getting, if it's Harrison today, who is it tomorrow? So I told them that I would take this opportunity to tell the public some of the things that has been discussed in the last few weeks with me. Number one, the mayor scared the Gold Card Club members at their community center meeting by being allowed to provide to them what I consider untrue scare tactics, the stuff that was spewed out relative to the tax petition committee. At that time, the tax petition committee representatives were there, and they were not allowed to interact with the Gold Card Club. In fact, they were positioned at a table up at the main entrance out of sight of that group. Council members Allen and Hannon shoddily interfered with the signers of the tax petition outside of both entrances to the library. That just doesn't seem to be becoming to many people that I deal with as representatives of the community. What I call the chatter up here at the dais, saying that we're hampered in our budget process by the fact that we approve the budget early in November and we don't have a lot of information. The fact of the matter is that is done for the convenience of council. The budget can be approved as late as December the 1st and still meet the stipulations of the Home Rule Charter. And I'll just point out to you that the minutes of the November 14th meeting, which is a meeting where we approved the increase in the real estate tax, it says that Harrison made a motion that we table this item until later in the month to give the staff an opportunity to provide us with numbers for this particular scenario, 14.4, just like they did for others. We were given information on 4 different scenarios, and all of a sudden, 10 minutes before we come on the floor, I was informed that the motion would be for 14.4%, and there was no information provided as council to this councilman indicating what impact that had on the budget. And there's another concern about talking about changing the time we approve the budget. If we don't approve it by December the 1st, that disallows the opportunity for the public to challenge the ordinance like they did this past year. So we need that time to do that. Mr. Hannon ridiculed me for suggesting, again, in his terms, that maybe council ought to help out with the budget by reducing our salary. That is $250 a month for council members and $350 a month for the mayor. And he said that the state controls that. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I can read, and I've read the state information, and what it says is that they control the maximum can be paid based on the population of the community. They don't control the minimum, and I'll point out that our local rules address the fact that council has authority in determining the pay. I'll just point out, and I'm going to get a little personal now, but it's part of the concern of my supporters out there. I have a genetic disease called Charcot-Marie Tooth. Now, most people haven't heard of it, but I can tell you, I deal with the organization, which is an international organization. It's headquartered in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and based on their information, the population of Bethel Park would suggest that there's maybe approximately 10 people that would be afflicted with this genetic disease. I personally only have encountered one young lady, a teenager, who is a lot worse off than me. She has to use a walker all the time to get around. But I'll just tell you that it's a disease that has no medications, no cure. The effect starts in the legs and then it works up. I started jokingly saying I have dropsy now because it's getting up into my hands. But the point I want to make is that it must be pretty apparent to people I deal with and people who've seen me that I'm semi-crippled and this disease is progressive. So if I live long enough, and I intend to live quite a while, I may in fact be considered a cripple. The importance of that particular, to tell you that, is that to my knowledge, there's two handicap parking spaces back up above the library, and it's not unusual that when I show up, those are occupied. There's two down by the district justice office, but that basically requires I climb steps, which I'm not very capable of doing. Ergo, I've been parking in the Veterans Plaza parking area, and the importance of telling you that is when I decided that I needed to get a place where I could better make access to the building, I spoke to the chief and told him my concern. In fact, if I come in the back entrance, I think the librarian would attest, is the most used of the entrances at the library. And on the inclement days, it gets very wet and slick back there. And I've fallen a couple times. And this disease retards the healing of the body. So, if I fall and break a hip, I'm in deep doo-doo, so to speak. Ergo, coming in the front here, I can come up the slope. I take the turn towards the council chambers as opposed to the one going to the library, and I don't tend to encounter damp floors. So that's the reason that I approached the chief about that. Shortly, it was back in November, after council passed the tax ordinance. And I had indicated that I didn't know anything about the 14.4 until 10 minutes before we came on the floor. I asked for a meeting with 3 of the top personnel in the administration The purpose of the meeting was to ask them basically the question, what did they know and when did they know it, about the 14.4, and the answer was that they knew about it the day of the council meeting. And I said, well, you know, what happened to email? Why didn't I know? Well, they were busy and they didn't get around to it. But it really asked a more serious question, that is, who told them about it and who had the authority to tell them about it? Because Don Harrison wasn't involved in any discussion about a 14.4. I'd gotten information on the other things. In fact, I put a spreadsheet out here indicating to people the information provided by the finance officer. So I just am concerned that, and they're concerned I'm not in the loop. I learned about the $1.3 million sitting at this seat right here, at this dais, when we had the last committee meeting. Now, I haven't heard anybody argue about that I didn't know about the 14.4. It's been said that there was information in the meal package, but I opened it when I got it. I had it sitting here with me at the last meeting and looked at it, and I checked again when I got home. I never found it. Now, why I didn't get that information before, I don't know. But it's and then the other thing Mr. Murray mentioned about the paper, the Almanac published a story in the February edition of the Almanac that talked about the tax petition. And what I find significant is they gave a quote that said, Murray added that it was always council's plan to review the budget after the end of the year and make change if possible. Now, I just want to emphasize that says Murray added that council always planned. Well, as far as I know, I'm still part of council, and I certainly was never involved in a discussion about opening the budget in January. So, you know, these three incidents seem to be a pattern that somehow, although I'm one of the elected officials here, I don't seem to be in the circuit. Now, I want to get to the final point, why it's important to me. When I had the meeting with the three officials of the municipality to ask them about the 14.4, we met in the caucus room, and the meeting lasted about an hour. When I went out to my car, this was, I think it was 10:30 in the morning. When I went out to my car, I had a ticket on my car from the Bethel Park Police. I talked to the chief about it, and he said, well, the ticket was issued by one of the junior policemen, a bit overzealous. And so I asked him, I was in his office, I said, no, I just want to make sure before I leave. He said, okay with you if I park there? He said, it's okay with me. So I parked there. When we had the meeting in February the 23rd, I think, in this room, when I went out, I had a warning on my windshield. And it was signed by Sergeant McLean, and it said, I'll call you tomorrow. Well, he didn't call me tomorrow, but he did deliver my municipal mail on Thursday. Now, I'll tell you, just part of our practice, we always keep the storm door and the regular door locked. So I unlocked the door and locked the storm door, took the package and thanked him. That's my normal procedure. Started to close the door, and he said, oh, did you get the note I left you? Well, the result of all that was I sent the chief the information on the warning, and apparently McLean said Harrison slammed the door in my face. Well, you know, I did what I always do. I take the mail, thank people, and close the door. If he thinks that slammed the door in his face, well, then he and I have a different concept of what that means. My concern is that it's not this government's problem, it's mine, that I have a disability. But it seems to me that after the amount of time I'm in my 39th year on council that I've served the community, that some reasonable accommodations could be made. Reasonable, I'm not asking for any really special, but just some reasonable accommodations to be made that I'd be able to get in and out of the building without extraordinary effort. I just want to tell you that the bottom line is that if this government doesn't plan on making an accommodation, rest assured that I will continue to dispense my elected duties regardless of the roadblocks and the harassment employed by local government. Thank you very much.
Mr. Murray?
Mr. Hannon.
Since Mr. Harrison tends to mention me twice, I'll discuss them both, but I'll discuss the second one first. The item about the council's salaries, Don reads into things the way he wants to read them, but if you read two specific documents, the Bethel Park Home Rule Charter, as well as the Constitution of the State of Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, they are blatantly clear that. Now, I'll read a quote out of the Bethel Park Home Rule Charter. And it states, each member of council shall receive the same compensation as received by council members of the municipality on the day before the effective date of this charter, or such other sum as set by council by ordinance. Such compensation shall not be increased or decreased during the term for which any member of council was elected or appointed. No such increase or decrease shall be effected by ordinance for the forthcoming term after the first date of file for the primary election for said office. So what Mr. Harrison was proposing in his email to council and staff, he basically sent it to Mr. Spagno on December 29th, was directing him to prepare two ordinances, which the way our rules are, one council person cannot direct staff to do anything. You need a consensus of 5 to proceed. As far as, please prepare two ordinances to the January 9th, 2012 council meeting. One with a 50% reduction in council and the mayor's salary, the other with removing it. You can't do that. As well as what the Home Rule Charter is based on is the Pennsylvania Constitution. Section 37, Article 3, Section 27 reads, no law shall extend the term of any public officer or increase or diminish his salary or emoluments after his election or appointment. So what Don was proposing was this council reduce its salary by ordinance, which is against the law. We can't do that. We can donate it back if we want to. He wasn't proposing that. He was proposing we pass a law to give it back or to not take it. And Mr. Harrison has taken his salary for, as he says, 39 years. That's a long time. That's over $100,000 out of this town in that period of time. I'm just saying those are the facts. Don't read into what the facts are before you comment. And as far as me interfering with the petition committee, I was here on a Saturday morning explaining the position I was taking, explaining circumstances. I wasn't blocking anybody. I didn't stop anybody from signing a petition. The only person I mentioned it to was that person registered to vote? She said, no, you can't sign the petition if you're not registered to vote. That's the only person I, quote, interfere with. And that's the rules. That's the only thing that happened. To say, and Mr. Harrison was not there to spread a rumor that he has no personal knowledge of that, because he wasn't there. Thank you, Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Hannon. Is there any other
Mr.
discussion? Mr. Allen.
I too was, there on that Saturday morning, but the reason I was there is because I received a phone call from one of my residents saying that I went to the library and there's a lady telling me or told me that my taxes are going up 34.4%. And she said, you mean all my taxes? And the lady says, yes. I said, all right. So I went to the library, I met Jim down there, and it's our duty, I feel it's our duty, to inform the public on what we do. I mean, if someone's going to tell you your taxes are going to go up and you're going to scare them, I think they're looking at the wrong person when it comes to scaring tactics. We were just explaining exactly what our position was, and that's our job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. O'Brien.
the parking place in question is at the Veterans Memorial. And let me give you a little history about it. When we created the Veterans Memorial, we had great intentions, but no one ever thought that anyone would have a problem getting to it. But we did. Mr. Donnelly, he was in a wheelchair, and it was very much a difficult thing for him to get his wheelchair and get all the way down to the Veterans Memorial. And it presented a problem, just not by money-wise, just by logistics. So we went to John Marr. Our state representative has always been very good to this community, and presented the situation to him. Now, John found money in the state budget when those times were good to help us build 3 parking places for Veterans Memorial. And the signs are very clear that they're for the Veterans Memorial. So a veteran can come down at any time, the day or night, and have access to that memorial. And that's what it was created for. And people were using it to park there, to drop their kids off to the library, to UPS trucks. So the real intention of those parking places is for the Veterans Memorial. And I understand situations, and I understand people's situations, not just these council, but regular people who want to use this municipal building. But my duty comes to the veterans first, especially the ones that are disabled, that if they want to spend time there, that's what they were created for, and I will honor that. Now, there's no ordinance on that. Council just decided to put up the signs without instituting an ordinance. But if we do have to institute an ordinance, that means we have to pay money. We'll have to advertise, have staff do the work, have Mr. McTiernan look it over. But that's what it was created for. And I will honor that work, and I will honor the veterans, that's what it's for, period. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah.
Mr. Harrison.
Just 3 comments. Number one, I think I will request that we instruct the solicitor to render an opinion on the state law, the local law, and that type of thing. I've never proposed that we change somebody's salary during their term. The complaint I always got, and basically from Mr. Hannon, when I made the suggestion, is that I'd always do it so it wouldn't affect me. Well, I'll be running next year, and if we decide to change the salary, then anybody gets elected in 2012 will get the pay that's specified in any change we make in 2013. The other thing is, as Mr. O'Brien pointed out, there's no regulation in the ordinance on those signs, and the chief doesn't seem to give a darn that his officers are issuing tickets and warnings when there's no basis for doing it. Incidentally, I am a veteran too.
Well, you should honor it. It's used for the Veterans Memorial, not for municipal business.
Mr. O'Brien, I'm going to challenge you to go out there any night, and tonight being a night, I'd walk out with you right now, and there's 3 parking places, and I've never left this meeting or this hall when there were 4 cars and mine sitting there, and I've never parked there like I did tonight when there's other cars there, and I suspect right now there's probably 1 car and it's mine, and I did park there tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pape.
I can't help but say this. Mr. Harrison wants everybody to drop their wages and everything, but let me enlighten him. I've been on this council almost as long as him. In 1977, he was up in Philadelphia with his wife at a convention. Talked to the manager, Jim Martin, wanted him to pay for his wife. And he has a golly to sit here and talk about this. And getting back to that tax thing, let me tell you, I had about 8 of my constituents tell me that they thought it was going to be a raise of $1,000 or $1,200. You know what I told them? If that was a story, I'd have signed a petition myself. That is not true.
Thank you, Mr. Pate. Mr. Maury?
Yeah, I don't know where to begin. Mr. Harrison's hitting on all cylinders tonight. He beat up on the mayor, Councilman Hannon and Allen, the police chief, myself, our staff. I don't know who's left. Mark. He beat up on Mark too, so he hit everybody. I think the red flag of warning is from Mr. Harrison. I think it's kind of interesting, or should I say appalling, how he sits up here and says many things, but unfortunately, most of what he says isn't true. I don't know where to begin. I can talk about the budget. I can talk about the tax petition committee. Just for the public's information, they did not submit the required signatures by the required date. So the tax petition committee did not meet the mandated 60 days with the 2,800 signatures. I look at this petition committee as not a referendum on the tax increase, but a referendum on Don Harrison, and it failed. Every month he sat up here telling people you got to do it, you got to do it. Last month he did the same thing. But yet he never has provided anything in the budget to cut. Never. Since the budget came out in September. We were up front with the public when the staff initially released the budget to the end of August. It was a 1.25 mil increase. And we did have many meetings. There was many suggestions made. And in the end, we decided on to minimize the reserves, that we would maybe go a little bit lower than we anticipated. And this thing about, I think at one point Mr. Harrison alleged an illegal meeting. Everything's a smokescreen. It's a smokescreen because Don has no ideas or suggestions that are constructive. How often do you sit or you watch this meeting, or do we sit up here, that he has anything positives to say about anybody but himself? I think to talk about the chief gave him permission. I don't want to put the words in the chief's mouth, but we did not give Don permission to park in the front of the building. He likes to think that. Not true. The same with Sergeant McLean. It's my understanding that Mr. Harrison did, in fact, shut the door in his face. This has been going on for a while, and I would say over the last 3 months it has gotten progressively worse. I have to tell you, to be honest, I received more calls from residents complaining about the tax petition committee and how they were treated, whether they were at the library, at the community center, chasing people down in the parking lot at Giant Eagle. I understand the manager at Eaton Park had to ask the people that were soliciting signatures to leave because they were standing out in front of the business. I had more calls on complaints on those people, including Mr. Harrison, than I had on the tax increase, to be quite frank. And let me tell you one interesting story that occurred and I witnessed about the actions of Mr. Harrison and how he operates when the cameras are off and how he likes to bully and threaten people to get his way. And then he comes up here, he comes across like he's a nice guy and everybody's picking on me. But let me tell you a story about the real Don Harrison. I attended, Mr. O'Brien was an advocate for setting up a blood drive at the community center back, I think it was on the week between Christmas and New Year's. I went over to donate blood. It started at, I believe, noon. I got there about 1:45. We have a policy within the municipality that everybody but Don likes to follow, that we require or request anybody that's going to be in our building collecting signatures, passing on information, send a letter to the manager requesting the dates and the times that they're going to be there. Also at the community center, it was agreed where the table was going to be set. Mr. Harrison brought up the Gold Card Club and they put me in the corner. Make no mistake, that's where Mr. Harrison agreed for the table to be. I walk in, and I believe it was room A, the small room on the opposite side, in the main room at the community center. The dividers are closed, and there Mr. Harrison has his table set right in front of the door going into this room. Understand, we're there collecting blood. It's a worthwhile cause. Well, he defied the staff and set his table up wherever he wanted, not where he agreed, but where he wanted. Mr. Harrison, whether he knew it or not, when I was in the room, the recreation director and the manager of our facility went over to him and said, Mr. Harrison, you're going to have to move your table out to the front door where you agreed to put it. Whether he knew I was there or not, he was outraged. He began to tell them, I'm here, I'm not hurting anybody, I can do what I want to do. And in the end, the recreation director said, Mr. Harrison, you're going to have to move the table. You get the manager on the phone. He's got a decision to make. And you know what? If that would have been anybody out there in TV land, any other resident of this community, you know what? They would have been asked to leave again, then the police would have been called. Imagine what this community would be like if every time there was a rule or ordinance we imposed that you wanted to talk to the manager or you wanted to talk to the police chief. Why do we have all these people out there? I stood in line, and I got to tell you, I was embarrassed to be a member of council seeing his actions. I was more embarrassed to be a resident of this community where we were doing something good. Everybody was there. Some people were from Bethel and some people weren't. And just embarrassed how Mr. Harrison treated our staff. And that's a regular occurrence around this whole petition committee. He doesn't get what he wants. He name calls. I'm going to load the audience with people. You're interfering with me. You know, it's not right. It's about time that people really see the real Don and see how he acts. You know, we can talk about the budget, and I will show, my last comment will be the list of all the recommendations that Don in 6+ months made to the budget. But let's talk about a little chronology of events that happened here. We received the budget in August. Between August and November, Mr. Harrison provided no input, no ideas, no suggestions. At the November meeting when we passed the budget, he voted against it, and that's his prerogative. But the reason he voted against it was because we didn't raise taxes high enough because the reserves were going to be depleted. And that's why he didn't vote against it. When we come out on the floor, when he was opposed to the .75 mil increase, I asked him, I said, Don, are you against reducing the increase? And he got all upset with me. So that was in November. December, he came out and chastised council. You're reducing the reserves from $3 million to $1.8. That's not good fiscal policy. You're depleting the reserves. Well, then in January, here we go again. Since he didn't have any ideas or suggestions, we had the January 23rd meeting set up. We invited everybody in the community to come and share their ideas. Mr. Harrison was invited in December to share his ideas on way to cut the budget because, believe me, we want to know. We think we've done a pretty decent job, but there are things out there that people could maybe explain to us and help us. Well, Mr. Harrison comes up with a third variation of his story on, you know what, it was okay in November I was opposed to reducing or not raising taxes high enough. In December, you guys are raising or depleting our reserves. Well, in January, it's complete reversal. Now, because he couldn't find anything in the budget, now he's saying, man, let's take the reserves down to $750,000. We did it before, we can do it again. It all depends on what day you talk about, in what position. You know, Mr. Harrison, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to change the facts. And let me show to remind everybody, I wrote down on this paper everything that Mr. Harrison suggested to cut from the budget. There's nothing there. The tax petition committee was a referendum on Mr. Harrison, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Any other comments?
Mr. Allen?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Mr. Payne.
One more thing that just come to my mind. I've been on this council for quite a few years, just like he has. I counted about 32 to 34 previous council members that couldn't get along with that man. Now, you mean to tell me he's right and all these people wrong, all these council people? I don't think so.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pape. Is there any more discussion? Mr. Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Mowry. I just wanted to make a couple of clarifications to some things that Mr. Harrison said. I have to say, first of all, that his, don't know quite how to say it, but his behavior has been becoming more alarming recently, I think. The erratic nature of his reasoning is just beyond anything I've seen up here, and you can talk to just about anybody on this council. In fact, anybody would agree that it's become quite alarming. Don mentioned up here earlier that he's running again for his seat next year, and we all knew that he was running because he brought up the salary issue again. Every 4 years when he runs for council, he brings up the salary issue and beats everybody up over it. None of us are up here because we get a $250 stipend. It's something that we do as a service to our community. We put a lot of time in. One of the things that Don complained about also was the I'm not sure how he was referring to it, but the fact that we were able to come up with a lower tax increase than he wanted, and he sort of accused us of having meetings and leaving him out of the loop, and that's certainly not what happened at all. We all spent a great deal of our own time talking to each other and trying to wrangle a lower tax increase out of the budget, preferably no tax increase at all, but certainly none of us wanted to raise taxes by 1.25 mils. When we were able to wrangle something lower than that, Mr. Harrison got upset and thought that we should stick with the higher tax increase, and that's why he voted against it. So that's just a couple of things that Don mentioned that really are kind of misleading, and that kind of leads me to another point, and that is the so-called interference with the petition committee and the petition signing. There was no interference of which I'm aware. You know, when Mr. Harrison circulates petitions, he has a history of deceitfulness, maybe, dishonesty, if you want to be perfectly blunt about it. And I'll go back a couple of years to an issue that has long since been put to rest, but Mr. Harrison came up with the idea to build a road out the backside of the industrial park a number of years ago. And when he didn't receive any support from anybody on council, he decided to circulate a petition and was going to bring those petitions to council and show council how much support there was. Well, when he was circulating the petitions, he was telling everybody that he could that we could build a 700-foot road for $5,000. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can't put a driveway in at your house for $5,000. It's not possible to build a 700-foot road for $5,000. And yet, Mr. Harrison told people that in order to get them to sign his petition. And so when he began this petition drive, all of us up here were getting phone calls from people alarmed at some of the things they were being told in order to get them to sign the petition. The 34.4% increase in taxes, for example. People pay $3,000 a year in taxes, $4,000, whatever their payment is. It's a combination of the municipal tax, the school district tax, the county tax. They were led to believe that the 34% increase was on total taxes, and it wasn't. It was on the municipal tax rate only, which was much smaller than the total increase that they were led to believe. So that sounded like the type of thing that we would hear from Mr. Harrison when he circulates petitions. And so we became alarmed at that and wanted to clarify that. There was no interference with anybody. We were simply clarifying some points on this petition drive that needed to be clarified. We were all getting phone calls at home. I was approached in various places around town, in Giant Eagle or in the parking lot. People were asking about this. Everybody was concerned about it. And once we explained to them what the limit of the tax was, everybody was much more comfortable with it. It's just the kind of thing that Mr. Harrison does to stir the pot, if you will. I made some notes when he was speaking earlier. He talked about the table and the mayor's interference at the Gold Card Club. Nothing could be further from the truth. The mayor scaring people at the Gold Card Club, the mayor was simply explaining the tax increase to the members of the Gold Card Club. One of the things that Mr. Harrison and his colleagues were talking about was the scare tactics that we were using, allegedly using, I should say, of cutting the police force and cutting snow plows, the plow routes, which they told people all the time were just scare tactics that we were using. And they weren't scare tactics. We had already done that. We had already eliminated a position in the police department. We had already eliminated a position in Public Works. These were things that were being done already. They weren't scare tactics. And if we had to cut the budget further, then we would have had to have gone in and done some more of that type of cutting. So we were simply explaining to people the things that were under consideration if we had to reduce the budget even further. But Mr. Harrison never lets the truth get in the way of a good scare tactic. If anybody up here was using scare tactics, it was Mr. Harrison. Mr. Mowry addressed the issue of the table in the community center. Mr. Harrison was permitted to circulate his petitions in the community center. He had agreed, the petition committee had agreed ahead of time to place the table at the entrance to the community center. They were inside where it was warm. They just had to stay at that one location. We didn't want people walking around interfering with classes or various other activities that were occurring at the community center by walking out onto the walking track or wherever and trying to get people to sign the petition. He had ample opportunity at the entrances to the community center, and he had agreed ahead of time to do that, and then decided that that wasn't good enough for him, and so he wanted to go start trouble by walking into various groups that were engaged in activities and trying to get them to sign the petition. That was just absolutely wrong on his part. And so he was asked to go back to where his table was, where he was had agreed to all along, and he became vitriolic in his objection to that. So that's a clarification there. Nobody was scaring Gold Card Club members. I'll defend the mayor on that point. And he was not prevented from circulating his petition in the community center, as he says. Well, there's some other things in here, but the bottom line is that Mr. Harrison has exhibited some incredible dishonesty in the past, and it's been increasing in recent months, and it's been a trend of his that's been alarming to me personally, and I think a number of others of us up here share that. Thank you. I'm sorry it took so much time, but I could go on for quite a while longer.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Mr. Maury?
I'll make there's two things I want to really, one to clarify and a comment I want to make. Mr. Harrison alluded to the fact about the $1.3 million surplus that after we reviewed the numbers in the budget and that he didn't get the memo. I just want the public to know that everybody received it, 10 members up here, and Mr. Harrison's alleging that he didn't. He called in Monday afternoon to the municipal building and asked if there were financials attached to the agenda. The answer, from what I'm being told, was given, yes, there were. He came to a meeting, he sat through the entire meeting and said nothing. We know how Mr. Harrison likes to talk, and he's not very shy at times, but could you imagine him not getting a correspondence of something of that magnitude, not bringing it up the night of the meeting? I simply say that Mr. Harrison just didn't read his mail. It's not my fault. Everybody else here got it. Everything with Don's a conspiracy. It didn't happen. And I guess from council, the majority of council, excluding Mr. Harrison, I'd like to thank the staff for the work they do. I apologize that you're getting pulled into this political game by Mr. Harrison, the manager, the chief, and everybody. The majority up here do appreciate what you do, and if we have an issue or we have a problem, that we come and speak with the manager, with the chief directly. We don't make these wild, crazy accusations on the floor, but we do appreciate all our staff does for us, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. O'Brien.
I'd like to thank Mr. Mowry. These are difficult times, and being a president in these difficult times can be difficult. I'd like to thank him for his leadership and his dedication to this council. He's always stepped it up. I'd just like to say that, we, as elected officials, we put our name on the line. We go out and get a petition. We put our lives an open book. And we're given certain powers. But those powers cannot be abused. We still have to abide by all the rules that this municipality and people of this town have to abide by too. That includes in interacting with the staff. That includes all ordinances. That includes all signage. We don't have any more power than you, the people. You elect us to these positions. And when we start abusing that power, we should really review why we're here. We have a good staff. They're very attentive. I can say that I don't agree with them all the time, but they're very good. They're very good, and they're very good at walking through issues and discussing it. And there's no conspiracy here. There's not a grassy knoll outside. And, at the end of the day, we're not going to find out who assassinated JFK. There's just no conspiracy here. And it's frustrating. It really is. And as for the veterans, and it's just about honor. It's about honoring their ability and honoring the idea why things have been created and why so many people put their time and sweat into that. And other people in this community who have to get into this building and may be disabled, they honor that. They honor that commitment. And I feel touched for them because of their problems, but I also honor the thoughts of why all these people are on that memorial out there, especially the ones that gave their life for this town. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Mr. Allen.
Just one last thing. Mr. Meyer mentioned he apologizes to the staff because what they have to go through, but I actually would like to apologize to the people, all the people in Bethel Park who happens to watch these meetings, because this is not good government. I mean, and I can tell you right now, tune in next month, the second Monday of the month, and you'll see the same show. And it'll continue until Mr. Harrison has another issue to go after. And then the players will be the same, the issue will be different. And I just apologize to the people of Bethel, because we do work hard. We've been working harder lately, but we do work hard, and it's not right for them to see this spectacle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Is there any other discussion? At this time, we turn to planning and zoning and Mr. Dixon. We have no residents signed up to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mowry. We have one item under planning and zoning, and I have one additional item after that. First, we have a reapportionment ordinance. I move that we approve the ordinance adopting the reapportionment plan for the municipality of Bethel Park.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we adopt the ordinance adoption, the reapportionment plan for the municipality of Bethel Park. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
O'Brien?
Yes.
Pape?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Gibbons?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
Mowry?
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Dixon.
I would like to make the comment that the map of the reapportioned municipality will be available for public viewing in the library. Spoke with the manager about that, and he'll see to it, Christine. That was it as far as agenda items. I do have one additional item.
Mr. Dixon.
As we have been talking about for quite some time, somewhere in the order of 12 to 15 years maybe.
Longer.
Longer than that.
20.
We are going to have the Baptist Road, Broughton Road intersection completely rebuilt. It's a PennDOT project. It is, they've already started doing some of the preliminary work. Right-of-ways have been acquired. Utilities are in the process of being relocated. And we are taking some steps in addition to this project to help protect some of the neighborhoods from some of the traffic nightmares that are going to develop and people who know some of the shortcuts through the neighborhoods. We're going to take some actions to help prevent that, hopefully. And I'd like to ask Mr. Duke to outline those plans that we have.
Yes, Mr. Dixon. As you know, the work on the Baptist Broughton is scheduled to start on March 15th. The contractor has been selected, and he's getting all his things in line, and it appears that we'll be very close to starting on March 15th. In recognizing that, in the last time whenever the Baptist Road bridge was done, there was a number of cut-through traffic through the different neighborhoods. In order to try and be more proactive, so to speak, in terms of trying to control some of that, Council met and discussed a number of different options that would be to try and control the cut-through traffic who will be avoiding the Baptist Broughton intersection. The council hired Trans Associates to look at some different options, and they completed a study, and that was done at the beginning of this month, and they've started to talk to PennDOT about the approval of those changes. Because Broughton Road is a state road, any access on or off of it has to be approved by PennDOT, and it has to be followed up with a study. As a result, Trans, in their study, has come up with some recommendations in which we believe will be forwarding to PennDOT and getting their final authorization before the construction will get going. But those changes will be as follows. Paxson Drive is to be restricted to right turns only at the intersection with Broughton Road, so you won't be able to make a right out, only a right out coming out from Foodland there. Barricade Locust Road at Broughton Road, therefore there'll be a physical barrier, so you won't be able to cross. And then eastbound left turn restrictions along Broughton Road at the intersection with Pinette Street and Jordan Street, and those will be AM and PM restrictions. So as you head towards the area of construction, you will not be able to make a turn into Jordan or Pinette to try and avoid that. Again, we're going to petition PennDOT to approve that. Preliminary results are that PennDOT is in agreement with the findings, and they hopefully will have, if it all goes well, then there'll be these items will be put into place.
Thank you, Mr. Duke. We had our traffic engineer study these issues and make recommendations to us, and just this evening in the caucus room before we came out on the floor, Council had a consensus to go with that plan. So this is just happening this evening. Just made the decision. We still have to get the approval from PennDOT yet, as Mr. Duke said. That's all I have under planning and zoning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dixon. Are there any additional items? Hearing none, can we turn to health, safety, and welfare? Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's one item on the agenda under health, safety, and welfare, and then I have one additional item. The first item is a resolution on disposition of records. I move that we adopt the resolution for the disposition of public safety records in accordance with the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Society regulations.
Second. There's a motion and second that we adopt the resolution for the disposition of public safety records in accordance with the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Society regulations. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagno, would you please call the roll?
Okay. Yes.
Allen? Yes.
Dixon? Yes. Gibbons?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison? Yes. McLean?
Yes.
Mallory?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. McLean.
Thank you. One additional item, Mr. President, I have. It came to my attention through some residents of the 7th Ward that shortly after the new high school opened, some people were taking to parking in the Oakhurst neighborhood on Oakhurst Drive and some of the surrounding streets. And we think this is likely temporary because it's a situation that'll get rectified when they finish the rest of the renovations at the high school and have the complete parking. But in the interim, we obviously can't have private residential streets being used as a parking lot. And the residents who are on that streets need to be able to be sure that there can be access through their streets for everything from school buses to garbage trucks to snow plows. So I just wanted to make everyone aware that this evening Council adopted through what's known as the manager's 90-day clause the adoption of the installation of no parking signs on the section of Oakhurst, Carlton, and Marbury Street, which will prohibit parking on Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. And so I wanted residents in that area to know about that, and also to hopefully get the word out to people who have been parking or thinking about parking in this area that effective after tonight and effective tomorrow, we will be putting signs up, and you will run the risk of receiving a ticket if you continue to park in that area. So it's a problem we hope we've addressed. We hope that it goes away. And as I said, I hope it's something that long term we don't even have to deal with or think about when they finish all the renovations at the high school. But just want to make everyone aware of that.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Are there any additional items? Hearing none, can we turn to Public Works and Maintenance and Mr. O'Brien?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item A, letter A, front loader high lift purchase. I move that we approve the purchase from Groff Tractor and equipment of Case 621E high lift with a 4-year warranty for $64,500, which includes $55,000 trade-in for the current Chase 621D high lift in accordance with the Community Service Director's correspondence dated January 6, 2012.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we approve the purchase of the Groff Tractor and equipment of Case 621E high lift with a 4-year warranty for $64,500, which includes a $55,000 trade-in for the current Case 621D high lift in accordance with the Community Services Director correspondence dated January 6, 2012. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Allen?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Gibbons?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. O'Brien.
The letter B, Source System Blanket Construction Contract. I move that we award Contract 2012-01, a time and material source system blanket construction contract valued at $300,000 to the B. Pinella Company in accordance with Municipal Environmental Engineers correspondence dated January 19, 2012.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we award contract 2012-01, a time and material sewer system blanket construction contract valued at $300,000 to the B. Papinella Company in accordance with the Municipal Environmental Engineers correspondence dated January 12, 2012. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagnol, would you please call the roll?
Dixon?
Yes.
Gibbons?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. O'Brien.
There are no other items, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any additional items? Is there a motion
Move
to
we
adjourn?
adjourn.
Second. All in
Second.
favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Good night, everyone.
President Roosevelt signed the Bill of Rights. I've always appreciated the American Legion.
My gratitude to the American
Thank
Legion.
you all of the American Legion.
We have millions of veterans that are members of our organization.
Thank you.
The American Legion, celebrating a legacy of service to America.